Hello, this is Cory Stillman for Awards Radar here with Drew Tarver, who plays Carrie Dubeck on The Other Two. Hi, Drew. How you doing?
Hey, good. How are you? How's it going? I'm on camera. I'm here. I'm ready.
You are on camera, and I'm on camera as well. I've done a couple interviews for this site, but this is actually even my first time on camera. So hopefully the
Okay.
the readers and the viewers like my face. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I think they're gonna like it.
Appreciate that.
I had to throw up this quilt, give them a little background
Yeah, I
because
have like literally nothing. You can see I'm just in an empty room. So
yeah, if I get boring, you can at least like look at a couple shapes and be
it
like,
is
oh,
a
that's
wonderful
interesting.
quilt.
Thank you.
So let's get into it. Obviously, The Other Two is in the midst of its third season. And this is so I mentioned to you before we started recording that I spoke to Charlie Grouet a couple of weeks ago. And I want to ask you the same question that I asked him, which is season three definitely seems to be leaning a little bit more surreal than previous seasons, but I also think there are maybe larger dramatic swings. It feels a little more heartfelt as well. Could you just talk about that, like your characterization of the show and sort of that evolution that you've noticed over its three seasons?
Yeah, I think, season three has definitely taken the biggest swings we've taken. Characters are invisible at times, in black and white. Uh, and yeah, it felt like, I don't know. It weirdly, it like didn't feel that different while filming it. It just felt like, okay, so we've set up these characters over two seasons. They're getting more famous and more kind of stumbling on their own hangups and the issues that they struggle with. What is like if we're going to heighten that to the extremes, like, how do we do that? Well, let's go a little bit bigger and let's take bigger swings, but like we're still sort of playing in that same. I felt like the writers did such a good job of setting it up, so it felt like just an extension of Carrie and Brooke, and sort of a way to showcase them in a new light with like a more sort of like out of this world joke, but we're still sort of like trying to ground it despite being inside of the movie Pleasantville.
Right.
You're still Carrie, who's existing in this and is playing it as real as possible. But for me, like, it was very fun to take some of these big swings. Like I did sketch and improv for years at Upright Citizens Brigade and still do it, to this day. And sometimes you're doing crazy, insane characters that can only really exist for 3 minutes at a time before the audience is like, okay, let's wrap this guy up. Uh, so it was fun to take a character that people have lived with for a long time and dip into those genre moments and bigger character moments and try to ground it as well and take the audience with you and into that more sketchy territory.
Yeah. You know, and I think it's funny. Like, I think the mark of any great satire is something that might seem surreal, but then actually just feel very real or even be like confirmed. I mean, I think it was season two, there was a bit about Chase being cast in the live action Bambi adaptation. And I mean, just yesterday, a live action Bambi was announced. So it's like
I
the other two is always one step ahead.
I just heard of that. Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy, that they're bringing Bambi to real life. We need
Hopefully
that
they
live.
just cast a Drake and Cardi B the way that they were
I
in the other
know.
two.
Is that I forgot who we cast in
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think the
Um
joke was like only singers do voice acting anymore, not actors. Which is great.
That's funny.
Yeah, so I want to talk about Carrie specifically because I think his arc this season has been really interesting. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think it's fair to say that his likability as a character has kind of been stretched maybe more than in previous seasons. He's kind of gone to some darker places or some places that I think could test viewers' patience. Is that
Yes.
fair to say? Like, is that something that you've kind of noticed? And I'm curious, as an actor, do you find yourself getting sort of like defensive of a character because you identify with them, or are you sort of disappointed in them and in some of their actions as well?
Yeah, I think that's totally true that he always was dipping his toe in sort of unlikability, and for little moments here and there, letting his desperation get the best of him in the earlier seasons. And but he would kind of come back to earth a little bit, or take his foot off the gas of being a monster, because you know he was straight manning a lot of the crazy people around him,
Mhm.
mostly. And I felt like he knew when he was being bad. Like, he had an element of like, I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I need to just try it for a second. And this season, I think, he's really starting to double down on some of those. And, like, many times at the end of episodes, he is supposed to learn a lesson based on the scene he did previously. And then he comes out of that scene and he's like, here's what I need to do. And it is the wrong choice. And it's a double down. And I think, like, Chris and Sarah were joking, like, halfway through filming, or like at some point during filming, like, does this character need to just die? Like, is this guy so bad he just needs to, like, a tree fall on him? Like, but it's interesting as a performer, like, trying to, because yeah, there is some uh yeah, I guess, being protective over him and putting yourself in his headspace of like, how did he get here? How, because you can track it, his villain tendencies, like the creators and the writers have done such a good job of slowly walking him there, to where you're like, oh wow, he's just almost all bad now. But you can kind of track it. And I think, the writing, they do such a good job of slowly taking you there, that like all of a sudden he's lost in the woods. But
And
I
it is
think,
very human too, right? Like we see that, like that jealousy, the insecurity as it relates to Curtis at the end of episode 7. That's,
yeah,
I think we
just
can
sort of that.
understand it, even if his behavior is maybe a little bit questionable.
Yeah, I think I don't relate to him, but I relate to how he got there. Like, I'm like, I see how you could make the wrong turn at a lot of different crossroads. And then once you're down that road, you're like, ugh, I'm already down here. I think I've lost a lot of people.
Mhm.
I can't turn around now. So yeah, I think I'm excited for everybody to watch, where he goes for the rest of the season, because he definitely, like, has to reckon with his bad behavior.
Yeah, and so again, a lot of that bad behavior I think has stemmed from this sort of subplot between you and Curtis. And I've really enjoyed Brandon Scott Jones's increasing presence in this season. I think he's a great actor. And
So
one
great,
thing
yeah.
when I spoke to Charlie was that he really emphasized the on-screen chemistry between the two of you. He felt like you two were just really excellent in your scenes together. Could you talk about a little bit about sort of shaping that arc with Curtis and yeah, just working with Brandon on those scenes?
Yeah, I mean, like, I've known Brandon for years. We, met at some, insanely sweaty party backstage at UCB. And have all has just, like, I've admired him as a performer for years. And we get to see each other do the craziest comedy in front of audiences. And you're mostly going for laughs, and you want the characters to be human in these sketches and scenes or whatever. But, like, they're so heightened most of the time, and you're like, oh, it's been 20 seconds, I need another laugh. Who cares if I, like, do any drama or ground this right now perfectly? But I think, like, we would call those our hard scenes. We'd be like, oh, we have a hard scene coming up on Tuesday. That's going to be so tough because we're so close of friends, and obviously we're acting and we're pretending to be mad at each other, but you're screaming things at each other that, we're both actors, we're both, in this business, so we felt these feelings for better or worse sometimes, like and I found it very, very exciting to, obviously there are funny things in those scenes, there are jokes that are written, but it's interesting to, having mostly done comedy, because sometimes I feel like it can be exhilarating and scary, because it's like sometimes I feel like I'm holding on to jokes as a way to keep me afloat, just because that's in my bones. I've done that for so long, and when I'm just doing acting, I'm like, am I doing this? I don't, right. Is this believable? Don't joke out. You know what I mean? Like stay in it. And it's amazing to do it with Chris and Sarah, who have such a handle on writing great dramatic scenes with funny stuff in them, right next to just straight up funny stuff. And that the end of the scene, there's a joke that will pull the audience out sometimes. Sometimes they let them sit there in that sadness, but and with Brandon, who's a great dramatic actor too, it's very fun to do that scene in the kitchen, because we were kind of like finding it. And yeah, I guess I'm just explaining real acting. It's not like,
No, but it's
oh,
excellent. Yeah.
yeah, like it's not like people, actors are watching this being like, you're talking about acting, Tarver. Like, but there is an element of being in the moment, or you're in the moment there with Brandon, who you have done comedy with, but we're responding to each other's level of anger and level of denial. And those were just there's a couple scenes. There's there's definitely like one other one that's coming up that was very big. One of our hard scenes that was very fun to do. And yeah, it's really nice to have creators who just have a handle on it and give you such great material that you're just kind of like getting to ride. You're almost on a ride that's taking you there. The writing is.
Yeah, and that's true as a viewer as well. Like the other scene that I think was excellent this season was the one between Brooke and Lance. That's kind of very
Yes.
emotionally tense as well. And both those are examples of like we've been laughing at the interactions between these two characters for years, and so it's kind of disarming, but in the best way possible. When we're like, I know that Curtis finally is fed up with this, or Lance is finally fed up with this, and we get
Yeah.
to see that emotion come out. I think it's really effective.
Yeah. It's really great to see the full character that has existed as maybe just jokes here or there, or fully come alive and just take a hard right turn. And watch, like that scene with Lance and Brooke is so good. And I was watching it with my family, and it's a very fun experience to watch people watch, like Carrie does. I'm
Yeah.
do that sometimes, because I'm
Yeah.
like, this is fun to watch an audience be not aware that a dramatic scene is about to happen, and just watching people laugh, silence for 2-3 excruciating minutes, and just watch that turn. Like it just fully turns the room you're in a great way. And I love like how Chris and Sarah just have like such a good handle on that, like that dichotomy of funny and sad.
Yeah. And I think it's taken a show that I already considered, the funniest show on TV to truly making it just one of the best shows on TV, because it has, it's giving you both. And I'm curious
Thank
your
you.
thoughts because, I mean, so now it's airing on Max, not HBO Max. It's a Max
Right.
original. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but I feel like I've observed like a rapidly growing popularity for this show, even in just the last like week or two. Like it really feels like it's a lot more online conversations around it, and people are really catching on to this show in its third season. Is that something that you kind of observed as well? And what's that experience like?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I could definitely, I mean, like being on Comedy Central first, and then the show was, the second season was written with Comedy Central, like shot, half of it was shot with Comedy Central, and then we moved to HBO Max, which became Max, and like I've definitely noticed like you know, in LA, people in the grocery store being like, whoa, cool. Like once we were on streaming, I think like the access to it was just so much more, and it was fun to, I mean, it's always great to work really hard on something that you've believed in for years and want as many people to also like it like you like it, and then when they do, it's very fun, it's very exciting to have that validation of like, hey, we like your thing, and I'm like, good, I hoped you liked it. I hoped you would like it. I liked
Right.
it. And yeah, I think yeah, it's really exciting, and yeah, I think it's really fun to, well, I had another thought, but I lost my train of thought.
No
Uh
worries.
yeah, it was, yeah, it's just been great, and like uh dang, I had something else good. All right, focus on the quilt. I'm
It's a great
bombing.
quilt. That's why it's there.
Quilt, please look here. I'll
It
remember
came
it
in
later.
handy. Look at that. No, it's funny because I've been a fan of this show since the beginning, and I almost have this like gatekeepy urge when I've seen more discourse about it. I will admit, I'm like, wow, like you're watching this show, but it's obviously it's great news. It makes me so happy for all of you involved with it because I have been touting this show as, like I said, definitely the funniest show on TV for several years now, and now I think it's evolved into something that's even more special. So I think it's really really cool.
Thanks. That means a lot. Yeah. Cause, like you were saying earlier, going into the third season, like after reading the scripts, it was kind of like, we're taking bigger swings. We're going wilder this season. Like, I hope our audience who likes the first two seasons likes, the metaphor of somebody being completely invisible at an industry party because they're not in the industry.
Yeah.
Like, it's really, I'm glad you like it, and you're like, you like the heighten of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, we do have to wrap up here, but really quick, is there anything you just want to say about these last few episodes? We as of this recording, three episodes left, I believe, correct?
Yes, yeah. What we got 8, 9, and 10.
Great.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think at the end of 7, you see Carrie have, get his ass handed to him, as the title of the episode says,
Mhm.
and then in the full next scene, not really learn a lesson or double down again. And uh I think, for the last, third of the season, you get to see Carrie kind of what all of these season long sort of double downs compound onto. And the writers have done such a great job of like bringing all of his season into the last 3 episodes and stack it on top of each other. And I think it's fun to watch all of the characters kind of where they're left at the end of this season, because they're driving pretty hard in the wrong direction all the way into episode 7. So yeah, it's fun. I hope people watch, and keep coming up to me at the grocery store and being like, nice.
Yeah, I know we're all looking forward to it. Well, thanks so much, Drew. This has been Drew Tarver with Awards Radar. You can catch new episodes of the other two every Thursday, I believe it is,
Yes.
on Max, and every prior episode is streaming there as well. I'm Corey Stillman. Thanks for listening.